Hi, everyone. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So today's news that the jobs reports were not correct in prior months and that this month's numbers look pretty anemic. Honestly, no surprise there from the astrological vantage point. In fact, it makes a lot of sense that this would be the case. And it foretells what is likely to happen from here forward, because this is what I had talked about in quite a few videos. The return of Saturn to the position it was in when the Orange Genius back in April had his Liberation Day and started to impose, or rather propose, is a better word, tariffs at hugely exaggerated numbers. Then he backtracks, then he changes again. And so, on the one hand, the unpredictability of the situation, which of course is perfectly mirrored by the Uranus cycle in his chart, which he's born with anyway. He's got it in there next to his sun sign and opposite the moon. So he's this way regardless. It's just that now he's especially this way because it's right up there at the zenith, squaring his Mars, his ascendant. So he's doing this over the last number of months. Now we go toward the year end and we have Saturn returning to where it was, which just through basic common sense on what tariffs are and what they're not, because this man seems convinced that he can gaslight the entire populace into believing that a tariff is some kind of revenue generation that the selling country is applied to, or removed from, which is not what it is. The tariff is the country sells the product the way they were selling it before, but someone that is bringing it into the country, an importer, pays the tax, and they're going to have to pass it on to you. It's just basic economics, basic math, something this idiot doesn't seem to understand, or at least thinks that we don't understand, or both. I suspect there's a little bit of both. Because, honestly, when all is said and done, this man is a dumbass. That's really what he is. Plain and simple. We've elected a dumbass twice. So, what's happening here is that planets move to where they were. By then, Saturn does its park position, squaring into the same place it was back in April, and then you really see the consequences. So, this is not good. This means the economy at Christmas time, November, December, January, will likely be reflecting the consequences of what he did earlier, where Jupiter is then is no help either, because Jupiter then is in Cancer, and later in the sign, of course, but not in a great place for him either. It's going to be on his Saturn Venus conjunction, which, if you were a different person and you weren't this reckless, an aspect like that might help you out at least a little. I mean, the 12th sign is always complicated, but in any case, panorama isn't good. And you know that this guy reacts viciously when his distorted vision of reality isn't reflected as actual reality, because reality tends to do that to you. It doesn't necessarily follow your imaginations. And so he reacts by firing people, and he'll react in any way necessary to try to restore what he thinks is his ideal vision of himself. So all of this is going to inflict pain on all of us, for sure. But it's also leading him into disaster because of where the planets are then and where the planets will be, especially next year, which is a key election year. And this is where I have to repeat this again because I see comments on the channel which, instead of addressing the astrology, the person will tend to say, well, yeah, but, that's not what's going to happen because I know better. Well, first of all, let me remind you that it's an astrology channel. So then, if you want to reply to the proposition, reply to the astrology. If you say, despite the astrology, this guy will succeed anyway. He always gets away with everything. There's no solution for anything. Well, you can say that, but I'm going to repeat again. The astrology doesn't care what you think. If you have really challenging aspects, you're going down. Doesn't matter how much of a genius you think you are, it's not going to help. And here, of course, once again, I'm pointing just to the economic situation, which, by the way, used to be his apparent, strong point. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that people thought he was serious when he said he was going to lower prices. Although, if you recall, even before he was sworn in, he was already saying, well, no, maybe not. Unbelievable that people don't turn on him instantly once a promise like that is broken. But the whole picture is wackadoodle. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's talking about he's an expert on economy. But that's what I'm addressing here, that this particular pattern is going to break down. That would be the least of his problems, because the other thing that the Saturn does next year is to his health. And that's always much, much worse. I'll end there knowing that this is not exactly, an optimistic message from the perspective of things getting easier for the populace, for those of us that are living in this country under this complete idiot. But from the perspective of bringing him down, it's okay. It's okay because it's as expected, and in a very real sense, it is what we need for upcoming elections, which I know, of course. The comeback is he's going to try everything he can to upset the apple cart and tilt the numbers in his direction. That's not an easy thing to do, especially when the astrology doesn't support you, which it doesn't. Plain and simple.